In this segment, we're going to talk about the first of 7 secrets that there is no money. Money is a substance that's a medium of exchange. Used to be silver, and it was denominated in a dollar. A dollar means, by definition, 371.25 grains of silver, 99% pure. We don't have that anymore. What we do have is a promise to pay a dollar. Now, for those of you who think that we have still have silver coins around, yes, we do, but they're not used as money. They are commodity. To prove it to you, how many of you would sell your silver dollar worth approximately $17 for a promise to pay $1? You wouldn't, even though the coin, the silver dollar, is defined as a dollar, which is 371.25 grains of silver. So my point is made. What happened in 1933, March 9th, 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt came into office, a late inauguration, and had the Emergency Banking Act passed. So I'm going to write this down. Emergency Banking Act. This Emergency Banking Act was basically a filing of bankruptcy of the United States. Because the United States was now bankrupt, they suspended money and they suspended ownership of all property. So the very first thing that the Emergency Banking Act did was to amend a previous 1917 Trading with the Enemy Act. This Trading with the Enemy Act made it a U.S. person or any U.S. citizen to be an enemy of the United States. So if you claim to be a U.S. citizen, you are an enemy of the United States. Maybe that explains a lot to you. Okay? That's the first thing it did. The second thing that it did is it made a person who held property, it took all the property away from people, is basically what it did. And it wrote it like this. There shall be a mortgage on all the homes and all the other property of all the people. So, now people and citizens are different. Although a citizen can be part of the people. So people would include all your Native Americans, it would U.S. citizens, it would anybody on a green card over here. Anybody with this here is taking away all property away from everyone. The problem with that is where all this wonderful remedy comes in for us. Is our founding fathers were smart enough in 1791 to create the Bill of Rights. 1791. And they created the Fifth Amendment. And the last phrase of the Fifth Amendment states this: when government takes anything away from its people, it must give them just compensation. All right? However, if you are an enemy, you don't get just compensation. See, the Trading with the Enemy Act was a smart act that they plotted back in 1917 when Germany used to have property here that they owned, factories that they owned, banks that they owned, and they could then use that property and the banks and their what they manufactured, have it shipped back to Germany to use against us in the war. Well, that's obviously not a smart thing to do, and it made sense that we would confiscate all of their property of any enemy that could be used against us. All right? The Federal Reserve was used as the holder of that property. So let's explore this a little bit more. So now, what just compensation have they given you? If you're a U.S. citizen, you don't get just compensation. By the mere fact that you say in your mind, okay, and that you are an American national, which the Supreme Court has ruled is far different than a U.S. citizen. If you are a national, then, okay, you're not a U.S. citizen, but you were born on the land. Let me say something else that's interesting. The definition of a bank. So you might want to write this down. A bank is any person who issues promissory notes for the purpose of circulating those notes as currency. Okay, and you do that every day. Every time you sign a credit card slip, every time that you write what you think is a check, all right, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, these are not banks. These are depository financial institutions. They are a place where you, the bank, okay, go to do your banking, and they facilitate that banking within the Federal Reserve System. The word I was looking for before is the Federal Reserve is the custodian of all property. All right. So this property that was seized by Congress, not just on paper, they did with the Emergency Banking Act. It says that so-called ownership is now reduced to mere user. So-called ownership is equal to a user. So you're the user of the property. You don't believe me? Look at your deed to your property. Your deed says that you are a tenant in common. Tenants don't own the property. All right? This is where they get the taxes. Okay? They claim taxes is where their rent's coming from. But a whole different transformation can happen. Trump understands there is no money, okay, and he understands that he, the man, is not a U.S. citizen, but is an American national. Now, there is a U.S. citizen, okay, that bears an all capital letter name. All right? That is something different that we're going to talk about in a moment. So, remember, there is no money. There is only a system of accounting as though there were money. All right? There's just a system of accounting as though there were money. The dollar bills that you're passing around, if you look at them, they say they are notes. That means they are promissory notes. They are promised to pay $1. They are not $1. Okay? More than likely, you have never seen any money. Therefore, you shouldn't owe any taxes on any money because you don't have any money. You have promises to pay money that have been given to you that have never been fulfilled. So how do you pay taxes on something that has never been fulfilled? That is a final thought for this segment. In the first session, there is no money. We're going to move along to the second session. The logic of it